Welcome, 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 y'all. This is my very first time recording Trend Set Her as a video. I upgraded from my little garage band to a mic and a little setup so you guys can see my face and know when I'm like clap, 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 and we're making little sounds. But I will be referencing notes because sometimes I just go off the handle because I'm so passionate about the things that I do. But I am super, super passionate about helping women ditch the diet world, find freedom in food, and build their best bodies. More importantly, when I'm talking about ditching the diet world, I'm talking about ditching things that make us feel small as women, things that we've heard since we were little girls and into adulthood that have limited our ability to really tap into our most powerful selves. And as a fitness and nutrition coach of going on 7 years, helping hundreds of women step into their most powerful and authentic version of themselves, I want to reach out to more women and be able to help them with the things that limit them, the things that stifle their mojo, that stifle their magic. And what better way to do that with a podcast? So if you're moving from just hearing me in your cars to seeing me on the screen, welcome. My name is Tania. I'm a fitness coach, as I've mentioned, a nutrition coach for the past 6 years. I'm a fur mama, a TT, a plant mama, or trying to be a plant mama. I am passionate about helping women ditch the diet world, ditch mindsets, ditch imposter syndrome. On Trend Set Her, it's all about ditching the trends that don't serve us, right? Because our bodies are not trends. Who we are, our people are not trends. And I'm going to bring today's episode is really about one of my favorite things to talk about, which is intuition. That little spidey sense that we have going on when we know something ain't quite right, and how over time we've all been really conditioned to ignore that small little voice that's inside of us, that's a compass, right? That really helps us and guide us on a daily. And I had been reading a book called The Gift of Fear. And the Gift of Fear is all about from an FBI profiler who really talks about how in all his cases of victims that might have been victimized, oftentimes there were signs that they ignored, because women are taught to be nice. Women are taught to get in an elevator and smile and not be not quite so nice to somebody. Great book. I highly recommend it. And I find that I do that. I do that to make people comfortable, even in situations where perhaps we need to be a little bolder in our boundaries. So today is all about intuition versus impulse and how to trust yourself without guilt. So warning, okay? This episode may cause you to start questioning everything you've been taught about decision making, self-doubt, and trusting yourself. Proceed with radical self-trust. Okay. Talking about ditching the mindset around food is just one layer of what my mission is. It's a multi-purpose, multi-layered way to make you the magical unicorn that you are. And the only way to do that is tap all the way within. So on today's episode, I want you to picture a moment where you're at a restaurant and you are ravenous, like you are super hungry. There's no snacks. There's no snackies on the way. And you went to the restaurant hungry, and the menu is packed with some yummy choices. Some that sound amazing, and some that you feel like you should order, right? Amazing, you should order. Picture that. You hesitate, you're ravenous, and you start running through the mental checklist of what sounds like, should I get the salad? Maybe I should get the salad. Will people judge me for ordering the burger? Do I have to explain if I ordered the burger that I'm hungry as hell? Am I actually hungry or am I just bored? I'm never bored around food, but I want you to visualize that. And before you even realize it, you're on a full internal battle with yourself for a couple of reasons. One, you're not really paying attention to your internal compass at that point, are you? If you're hungry, you're hungry. If you're concerned that they're going to look at what you order as too much, or, oh, are you going to eat that? That's conditioning. That's conditioning that is running the show in the background, and not just intuition, but this is really important from a nutrition coaching standpoint. It's not just intuition, it's having a good relationship with yourself and what your body needs. And those two coincide. But when we're talking about being in that restaurant and thinking about all of the things, when you already knew what you wanted when you walked in there, if it was the burger, it was the burger. And if you're allowing conditioning to change your decisions, this episode is for you today. We've been taught so many times to second guess ourselves in everything, from what we eat. I see this all the time, to how we train, who we date. This is a big one for me that I had to unlearn, how we work and what we wear. All right. We call it intuition, but a lot of times it's just fearing wearing a different outfit. We think we're listening to our gut, but we're really responding to old programming. Have you done that where you're like, is it your gut or is it fear leading the way? Is it that you thinking there's an alarm bell, but there's not? Because you haven't tapped into that side of you and cultivated a relationship with yourself to know the difference between, yes, this is for me. I'm just a little scared because I might actually manifest the life that I want, and or I'm getting in my own way, right? Or really, this is not for me. So let's be real. Where do we finally make a bold choice? So if you went with a burger and you feel bad about it, why? Because what you eat, how you look is nobody's business but your own. If I know for myself, if I'm going to a restaurant and I'm a nutrition coach that eats, like I'm a taco lover, okay? I like a good mark. I like a good skinny mark. I like a good regular mark. If I'm drinking a beer, it's not going to be light because it's a beer and I wanted a beer. So that's my kind of way of eating. If I'm going to a restaurant, for example, this weekend I went to one of my favorite restaurants in Fort Lauderdale, and it is Heritage, and they have a bucatini that is, I'm not going to go for the salad because what I really want there, I'm going to order. And if you find yourself changing your choices based on other people, then today is all about building a self radical process of trusting yourself. So, something to think about is women have been taught to doubt themselves as deeply that trusting their own instincts feels like rebellion. Like, it really shouldn't be radical that you trust yourself. It shouldn't be radical that you go to a restaurant and order what you want or wear what you want. I think a lot of times I had a client who was like, "Well, you walk around like your shit don't stink." And I didn't know how to take it at first. But do I walk around knowing my worth? Absolutely. I've worked very hard to become this woman, and so should you. Your path, your journey in life, wherever it's brought in you, you leaned into intuition in the right times to cultivate the life that you wanted. And if you're finding yourself in moments not listening to that intuition because of what you think you should be, who you think you should be dating, what you think you should be eating, and all, notice I'm predicating all these with shoulds. Should is my least favorite word in the English vocabulary. Why, you ask? Because it puts a preconceived notion on what we are actually doing and what actually aligns with us. Should is a list cultivated by somebody else to tell you how to be. When really, we all come from the same source, whether it's God, Allah, Yahweh, whoever you believe in, a creator, or even if you don't believe in God, we do all come from the same source. And our lives are meant to be uniquely lived. So should puts a limit on that. And I'm not about limits or putting anybody in boxes. If anybody knows me, and eventually I'll share more of my story, but I'm all about breaking through boxes. I'm all about ditching labels and mindsets, not just in the gym, but in real life too. So today we're going to break the cycle. Today we're going to focus on really building this thought around, like, why am I not trusting myself? Why am I not trusting my internal compass? Why am I not trusting my ability to recognize that this is not for me? And I'll share a little story about that. And that will be very vulnerable, but I'm here for it. Vulnerability is going to help someone out there, so I'm here for it. And it's not anxiety, it's not impulsivity, and it sure is not guilt. When that little voice inside of you politely starts as this, and then becomes this loud, banging noise, you need to listen because it's there to guide you. It's there to be your internal compass. And this episode is really for me to help you lean into listening to that voice, listening to that first tap. I always have this moment when I first meet somebody where I have a sense of whether or not they should be in my life. And when I was younger, I just took it as trauma response that I was wrong. And every time that I've had a fallout with somebody, I always already knew that they weren't for me. But I didn't want to be mean. And I didn't want to ruffle the feathers with the rest of the people that I was with. And I didn't want to cause a stir. And although I think that all of those times that I didn't listen to my intuition were learning lessons, what is more valuable is that it taught me to listen to myself and know when everybody's like, yeah, they're okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's not fine with me. And that doesn't mean I have to cause a stir, but it does mean I cause distance and space. So we're going to get into the science of intuition and how your brain actually works. What intuition really is, it's not just magic, it's science, and it's your brain processing patterns and experiences faster than your conscious mind can keep up. And the neuroscience behind it is your brain stores patterns from every experience you've ever had, right? I just talked about friendships that I've known, and I've seen patterns with them, and I didn't listen to my intuition, and I wanted to believe that they were different than they were actually showing me. Like my conscious mind wasn't picking up on what the universe was putting down. And when faced with a decision, your subconscious will pull from those stored memories and sends you a signal, which is your gut signal. This is why people who practice for skills like athletes, doctors, coaches have instincts that feel automatic because they have leaned into building a relationship with that skill. It's like anything you practice, right? If you're going to go to the gym, if you go to do squats, eventually a barbell squat is going to feel seamless to you. Yes, it might feel challenging because you are adding weight, but the skill itself, because it's constantly being cultivated, isn't just a physiological skill that occurs, it's a connection. You, as you're starting to squat more, are practicing a skill, which your body is falling in line with, but it's also building an internal skill, a confidence that you recognize that is building over time. So, yeah, I got this weight. I've done this. I can do this. Building a skill with intuition is the same thing. If you're not tapping into paying attention to it or creating and cultivating that relationship with it or practicing those little techniques to be able to listen to it, then it's really going to be hard for you to drown out the noise that is happening in the outside world. And when you're thinking about like why women, because women have intuition is our superpower. I can't tell you that enough. And I just, I joke that I've always known. Like, I think there was a real audio a while ago, like, people thought I was crazy, but they've never called me wrong, right? So when I have said, this person ain't supposed to be part of your life, like, she ain't got your back. And oftentimes people be like, you're just being, your head's on a swivel, you're worried. But was I wrong, though? And it's not about being right or wrong. It's recognizing that I saw in them, based on something that's happened, that they were not good for you. That's the kind of friend I am. I got friends for a long time, and now they don't. Now I'm Spidey woman. They trust my intuition, but from when very little, we were taught to ignore our intuition. Like from the time we were girls, is you want to be a nice girl, you want to be polite, you always want to have a smile on your face, you don't want to make a scene, and not to trust your own instincts. And oftentimes, when you read The Gift of Fear, you'll hear that because we've been conditioned to be polite, people have been allowed to prey on women because we are ignoring that internal compass that is meant to protect us. Examples of intuition being dismissed is feeling uncomfortable around somebody and you're told to be nice and they're just being paranoid. I had a friend once tell other friends, she's just not nice. No, I'm kind. I am not nice. I'm kind to the right people. When I say right people, people that make me feel safe and comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. When a relationship isn't right for you. So, and they tell you you're being too emotional and overthinking. There's nothing worse than being gaslit from reality versus what in your heart is not right. And oftentimes, because we have all of this previous programming around what we should be, we find ourselves in real life situations, right? When you are real timing it, not knowing how to listen to what's already there, what's already in your heart. So over time, whether it's you're feeling drained from a job, a friendship, or an environment, people always tell you, like, well, you should be grateful for that thing you have. And there's nothing wrong with having gratitude for where you are, but it's also okay for you to recognize that it's not where you need to be. There's this quote that says, God is never going to put you in a place at peace where you're not supposed to stay. Right. And I know I totally messed that up, but that's the sentiment. God will not put you in places and make you feel at peace in places that you're not meant to stay. So he gives you, or they give you, and this is not a religious podcast by any means, the creator, the spirit gives you intuition, right? Because it's meant to guide you and protect you and show you the way. And women have the strongest intuition. I don't know how many of you out there that have known someone is lying to you, that have known something isn't right, that know a relationship, someone's cheating on you. You feel it in your gut of gut of gut of gut. And someone tells you, no, that's not what's happening. You're being crazy. You're just being a crazy person. And then you find out that in fact, you were 100% right. And over time, if you don't practice the skill enough and if you give it enough programming or conditioning around ignoring your intuition, it's going to be hard to hear. And there's nothing, and that's not like a judgment by any means, it's just a reality. What you don't practice and what you don't hone in on and what you don't really lean into becomes a whisper. And sometimes learning why you are the way you are as a woman is the first step to creating the awareness. And then that next step is creating the change. And that's the same thing in anything, whether it's you tapping into your intuition or you changing your diet or you changing your exercise or you getting rid of that dusty busty that you're not supposed to be with, whether that's a man or a woman. This is all about us helping you recognize that you're not crazy. Okay. And I do hope you have a friend that you can call when your intuition is screaming that says, you're not crazy. That's what it is. That's what it be, that is a mirror for you. And if you don't have that, you have this podcast. You have somewhere you can come slide into my DM. I'm always open to hear a story and help guide in any way that I can. Every time a woman ignores her intuition, she builds a bridge back to her self-doubt. So every time you ignore that piece of you that's telling you this is not for you, or that's telling you this person is not for you, this situation, this environment, you're just, instead of practicing the skill of building intuition, you're cultivating the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, the belief in not having your own ability to manifest something, whatever that is, change, ditching the boyfriend, new money, whatever, right? And this is a call to you to really lean into the gift of fear and learning how to tap into intuition. So the difference between intuition and impulse, right? Because a lot of times I think people think about intuition, it's like a woo woo. And I'm woo woo as fuck, just so y'all know. I'm very, very spiritual. So I got crystals all over the place. These little orchids are here, but if you were in my home, which I'm sure you'll see as we come over time, I think a lot of times people would think I was impulsive when I was younger because I would make stark changes when I felt something. And I will say that, when about like 4 or 5 years ago, I had, before that, like my mom had passed away and she was essentially the light of my life and my best friend. And I recognized at the time that I wasn't living the life I wanted. When you face losing a parent and your own mortality, and you recognize how deeply unhappy you are because I was ignoring my intuition on a regular basis, um, I felt always like I was off and that where I should be in life was never where they told me I should be. I was in 5 different industries. I couldn't figure out a career that I really liked. I wasn't married. I hadn't had a kid. Um, I didn't own a home for that long. Like I wasn't where the milestones were. I felt like I was off. And I'll never forget that at the time I was married and I knew I shouldn't have been married. I knew before I got married I shouldn't have been married, but I just chalked it up to being this gypsy my mom told me I had been, and that I was just having cold feet, even though everything in my soul said this isn't it for you. And I ignored it, and I knew at the time, but because of all of the societal pressures of where I should be and what I should be doing and who I should be doing it with, and of course even at the impulse, I still I still did it my way. I was ignoring my intuition. Long story short, obviously that marriage didn't succeed. And I remember going to a soul seeker reading and having this Native American kind of like soul seeker reading happen. And she told me, she's like, your intuition is your superpower. And I want you to remind me of a time that, you know, you felt like something was wrong and other people were told you were crazy. And it had happened so many times that by the time I did get married, I had really ignored that level of me, thinking it was anxiety, thinking it was something. But the alarm was I was not living the life how I was meant to live it. And out to outside people, I was being impulsive. And to outside people, I was just some crazy, crazy person. But in each instance that I've moved, I have listened to it. And that intuition doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. It doesn't have to look good to the outside world. It doesn't have to, the people that are close by to me that are with this journey on with me will know, will understand, and give me space to experience life as I'm meant to and be a loving, supportive guide when I need it. And it took me a long time to recognize that I wasn't being impulsive at the time, even though I did post my mom passing, completely changed the trajectory of my life and quit everything that they tell you not to do post having lost a parent. Um, but I'm glad that I ripped the band-aid off because now I get to help women all over the place become better versions of themselves. I get to tell them that no, they're not fucking crazy. That is what is happening. Um, that I get to guide them on helping them be a strong and more magical part of themselves, all because I took bold choices that at the time to the outside world seemed impulsive. Um, and I'm thankful that I did. So when we get into the difference between intuition and impulse, this is where we separate real gut instincts from impulsive decisions or fear-based reactions. How to tell the difference between intuition, impulse, and fear. Intuition comes from a place of calm knowing, right? I knew that where I was when my mom passed was not for me. And it wasn't just in my marriage, it was in my profession, it was where I was working. I never felt at peace in those environments. It's a clear and steady quiet. Even though I ended up changing everything, I did it over a period of time. Like I knew I was leaving this career and I planned my exit strategically. And it didn't feel like an emergency. It felt like I've always known I've wanted to be in wellness. I've always known I've wanted to be in fitness. It is the one thing that has really, really allowed me to be the best version of myself. And what a gift I get to give it or help guide people to other people. So reminder, intuition, it comes from a place of knowing, like a deep knowing, a clear, steady, and quiet mindset. And it's not frantic and it doesn't feel like an emergency, but it's like, I know. There's certain things that I can never explain how I know. I just know. It's just sometimes like when I know that someone's not for me, I just know. And I don't have to quantify it. I don't have to explain it. I can just say no, thank you. And no really is a complete sentence. When you're looking at impulse, it's like urgency, reactivity. It feels fast, it's ungrounded or compulsive. And it's often driven by an external pressure, right? It's often driven by like what the outside world thinks I should be doing. And then you have those fear-based decisions, right? They feel heavy and anxious and restrictive. It comes with a lot of what ifs and a lot of self-doubts. And it sounds like other people's voices are in your head. Society, diet culture, parents. And that's what I call white noise, right? Like the noise that doesn't allow you to really hear yourself. And that is the noise that we are trying to diminish as much as we can so that you can hear the clear and steady voice that is the all knowing, that is aligned with your higher self. And when you're thinking about what intuition is like, it feels like direction. It's like a compass. When you think about intuition and like where it guides you, you may not know where the end journey will take you, but I promise you, if you listen to your intuition, it will lead you to a more magical place than you could even conceived, because you sometimes have limitations that are based around fear and the shoulda, woulda, couldas. And fear just feels like doubt. Doubt in yourself, doubt in your abilities, doubt in your worthiness of where you deserve to be in life, because we are all worthy of the magic that we want. If it is a whisper in your heart, it is meant to come to life. If it's here, it's meant to go and be out there for someone, including you, most of all you, to experience full throttle, like Care Bear stare action. And when you're looking at like the nervous system and how it plays a role, if you're constantly operating, we talked about like, all the little white noise, your parents, diet culture, the new diet, and you're working a ton and you're a mom and you're a parent, and it feels like flight or fight, right? Where you can't get quite a breath and you don't have a clear vision around what you're deciding. It's really hard to like lean into that. So your nervous system sometimes mistakes fear for intuition. They are different. Sometimes it's leading from a place of pre-programming and not the best way. And when we slow down and we breathe, we talked about that calm and steady kind of decision making, and we let our bodies feel safe. We have quieted the white noise. We have eliminated relationships that don't serve us, right? Snip, snip, motherfucker, snip, snap. And our intuition gets louder and louder and louder. And it becomes a full guide that's taking you on the ride of a lifetime. And if you find that you have had a hard time conceptualizing intuition and don't even know how to rebuild it, just tap into breath, tap into the idea of just taking a minute. Because every time you question where your shoulds come from, that's the first place to start. Why am I feeling this way? And where is this should coming from? Is this should coming from some kind of preconditioning that I've heard since I was a little kid about what women should be? So is this my voice? Is this me? Or is this someone else's voice? Or is this the version of me that has allowed the programming to stay inside of me? Am I disappointed in scaring somebody, like, or making someone feel bad? A lot of my decisions in my 30s were really me not wanting to disappoint my parents, because they had worked so hard to give me a beautiful life. We came from Puerto Rico with nothing, and my sister and I were given top tier educations and experiences. My mom was a rock star when it came to giving me the life that she didn't have. And yet I was choosing an untraditional path when she had chosen a traditional path to manifest the success that she had. So I was her complete opposite baby. And I allowed a lot of that notion, that Caribbean background, that like this is how we become successful, to limit my idea and my vision of what success looks like. And for me now, success is entirely different. Success is my most authentic self, what feels easy and easily able to like align and touch and grow and love and help people. And I'm finally living that life, and it's untraditional as fuck. It is not the schooling I went to, which was like international relations major. It's not the private school stuff that helped me. It was listening to my intuition, learning how to heal myself, and in the process of learning how to heal myself, help heal other women. Zeke agrees. My little puppy's on the floor. So not all gut feelings are intuition. And that's my main point of bringing that up. We talk about the neuroscience behind it and the pattern recognition. Sometimes the pattern recognition can be not recognizing what's good in front of you. Sometimes the pattern recognition can be self-sabotaging what is meant for you because we haven't really listened to intuition, and fear is what's guiding the way. So when you're thinking about how to strengthen your intuition through a daily practice, give yourself small, low risk decisions daily, like choose food without overthinking it. You went to that restaurant, you got the burger. I mean, I'm not a burger person, but I love a taco. But I love bucatini, and I'm going to go to get a coffee, and they have a nice little pastry. I'm straight, I'm getting it. The second thing I want to tell you as a nutrition coach is when you order what you order, you don't got to explain that a nan to nobody. It's nobody's business why you wanted to order that. You don't have to tell them you're being bad or being good or being anything. You're just being. Enjoy the being. It's a really great place to be. And then you pick a workout based on what feels good, right? Not what burns the most calories. I was a big runner back in the day, and I think I burnt myself out running, to be honest. I also did a lot of running to be smaller. I did a lot of running to be my smallest self, and I wanted to be thin, 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 right? But in the pursuit of being super thin, I cultivated the worst relationship with my body. I had the worst relationship with anxiety. I didn't move from a place of joy. And you pivot and you decide, you hit a wall, because we all hit a wall when we're doing too much exercise and too little food. And you start to lean into learning your body, and you start to lean into learning what it actually needs, and not what society tells you it should do, but what you intuitively know you need. And I'll tell you, women, we need food. We need rest. We need to have time to connect to our inner self, and we need to pay attention to our cycles because they will dictate our energy levels. And once you cultivate that intuitiveness with your body, and I did that through pressing pause all the fuck the way and eating more food and minding my fucking business, because minding my fucking business de-stresses and cortisol levels go down. But more importantly, leaning into activities that I found really joyful. So where I used to run all the time, like 5 to 6 days a week, I maybe run twice. But you know what I really love to do? I love my hot girl walks. I love putting my puppy and seeing him strut. And while I may not be my smallest self, I am my happiest self. And my body is banging. So, but even more importantly, I have a good relationship with my body and the intuitiveness. I pay attention when it tells me today is a day not to work out because I'm too tired or my cycle's coming or I just didn't get enough sleep, and it just make it worse. But that takes flexing. That takes practice. And that all starts with picking workouts based on your energy level, right? Like, yes, you should be strength training. Yes, you should have a little cardio. Yes, you should be leaning into flexibility. No, you shouldn't be doing what that Instagram person told you because you want to be your smallest self. I said it. They don't know. Some of them really don't have any credentials and are just using catchphrases for clickbait. No, you shouldn't be trying to fit into clothes that you can't sustain that body, because it means that you hate yourself into being that body, right? So we're not gonna build a body we love through a process of hate. And what you start with is choosing food that you want to eat without overthinking it, is picking workouts based on what brings you joy. And I will say strength training at least once a week, twice a week, ladies, please. Your older self will thank you. And then saying no to things that feel off without over explaining. I'm in the era of no. Like if it feels like, you already know. If it's a Saturday night and the bed is calling, I don't feel like I'm missing out. There is no more FOMO because I'm living a life that I authentically love, and every day feels like a joy. Even on days that are hard, and even on days that are tiring, and even on days that I may wonder what the next step is, I love my life. And part of loving my life is cultivating a very fucking strong no. I'm not into any drama or BS. I don't really like to go clubbing. It's going to be once in a great while, literally like twice a year. I'm a dartier. I like to have a couple of drinks during the day with my friends. But if someone invites me out somewhere and it doesn't align with me, or I just know that's not my vibe, no. And it feels really good. And the people that are like, well, you're boring, you're this, you're that, those people will fall away, which leaves space for people that are going to be like, oh, that's cool. I just want to try something new, but I'll go with someone else. We can do coffee instead. We can have breakfast instead. We can go to hot girl walks instead. I'm telling you, strong no. I'm all for a strong no in 2025 and beyond. So I want you to, here's a little challenge for you, is to spend 24 hours making decisions without overthinking or second guessing. 24 hours where you go to eat whatever you want to eat without thinking what you should be doing. You go to do whatever workout that you want. If it's pole, get up, okay? Hot girl walks, you name it. And don't second guess it, not a bit. So your call to action is one, your little homework is notice one moment this week where you don't hesitate to trust yourself, and then take one moment this week where you hesitate to trust yourself. Little cough going on. A lot of people. So homework. We'll go back to your homework. Your homework this week. Notice one moment this week where you hesitate to trust yourself. 2, stop and breathe and ask yourself, is this intuition or is it fear? Make the choice. This is just talking about practicing a skill that is going to align with your deeper knowing, not the noise. If it should, it's likely not from you. Make the choice that aligns with your deeper knowing, not the noise, and then feel free to DM me. Tell me about it. Share your moment on G. Message me using Trendset Her. When you trust yourself, you become unfucking stoppable. Unstoppable. When you stop looking for permission, when you stop asking to be there, you step into your most powerful self. So this isn't just about intuition versus impulse. This is about you cultivating a deeper relationship with you. And we label it as intuition, but it's allowing that inner voice to not just be a small whisper, but a big roar. So you can step into your most powerful self as you head into today, tomorrow, next week, and the rest of the year. Thank you for spending some time with me. If you haven't already, subscribe, share, and tell a friend. I'm here to help in any way I can.